We all have challenges in life, and how we react when tragedy strikes can say a lot about a person. The California beekeeper, Jose Uribe, joined us for one of our stream team live beekeeping chats, and the topic got very serious very fast as Greg described some tragedy that had occurred in his operation. And then Jose was also able to talk about some things that had happened in his situation. I think you really enjoy this one. There's some very valuable information here about overcoming difficult times and picking up the pieces. I hope you enjoy another Stream Team Nugget. Go. And I've been working on that, editing that to get the video produced, and it's ready to go. And I was thinking I would do it today before the live chat. I was thinking I would upload it or have it go live at, I thought about maybe 6 o'clock this evening here, 7 o'clock your time on the East Coast over there. And guess what happened? Greg, no, I mean, I actually, last night when I was thinking about it, I decided to go tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. And so what I'd like to do, Brian, do you have that video? Can you pull that video up if you don't mind? I'd like to kind of watch it. It's a short video that Greg did, but it's phenomenal. And there's some concepts that Greg talks about in this video, just some really awesome principles there that I think might have played into my decision without realizing it to move it to tomorrow night, because I think his video needed to be seen tonight. Is that okay, Greg, if we do that?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
It's phenomenal, and I think we can reach a lot of people just right here watching this broadcast.
Well, we were out trying to get some last minute things done here on some colonies here after the learning yard, and got some real bad lightning, and then all of a sudden hail, whiteout rain, and we're just getting out to kind of assess the situation here.
The week before the storm ripped through the farm, destroying nearly 50 colonies, I was exhausted, drowning, ready to give up for the year. Then God put it on my heart to graft one last round of queens and put them in a very special hive. After heeding the call and closing the lid, God gave me a sign, a promise, a rainbow. Little did I know that He was preparing me for a storm and gave me everything I needed to rebuild the Beeyard and more.
Yes, writer note. The lighthouse hive stands.
God never promised that there wouldn't be storms. He promised that He'd be there to see us through. Not only did we have enough queens to rebuild, we had enough queens to grow. What will you do when the storm crashes on your shore? Quit? Give up? Drown? Or will you pick up the pieces, rebuild, move on, and thank God that He woke you up this morning, gave you breath, and stood you on your own 2 feet, even if in the middle of a storm? If God can use a beehive to be the lighthouse, He can surely use you too.
It's hard to say anything after that, guys. That's phenomenal. And I just wanted to show that tonight, Greg, because, man, I really like the comment that, that if I just love that the whole thing. The whole thing was just awesome. It's gut wrenching, chill bumps. So, Greg, tell us a little bit about this experience and kind of what was behind this video, and just talk to us for a minute about this whole situation.
There's a lot going on with these things, but I think one of the biggest takeaways that I have is you have to be in a position to where you have ears to hear. You have to be in a position to listen for that guidance. You have to be in a position to act on it. And if you don't, you really don't know what's going to happen. This has happened before. This isn't the first time we lost everything. It's been for different reasons and different points of our life. But there's always something to learn. There's always a silver lining. There is always a positive takeaway. And you always have to look to those things. But if you don't listen to that call, if you don't heed the call, you may find yourself in a position to where you don't recover. Maybe that was the shot you get to kind of get back on your feet. That's kind of just what happened with us. It was, we've said it on the podcast. We've even said it here before too. This year has just gone too good. You've heard us say that. The year has gone too good, and I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's a warning that I've had all season long. I've said it, and I kind of felt crazy, saying those kind of things. When you drive around through the Beeyards and all you see is bunny rabbits, and spring is just, and summer is just exploding, and you're thinking, man, everything is so abundant. And you're grateful, and then you're appreciative, and the bees are busting and booming. You're making splits, and the queens are looking great, and the nukes are looking awesome, and there's more honey than you even want to see or touch or process. And then you get burned out. You're tired. You're about ready to quit. You've done everything that you needed to do, everything that you wanted to do. You don't feel like you've got anything left in you. You're running on fumes. And then you hear that little calling, and it says, just graft one more round of queens. And you ask yourself, why I don't need to. I don't need them for sales. I don't need them for growth. Why is that pressed on me to do it? But you just obey, you do it. And when I heard that voice to go ahead and do those last round of grafts and put those in that specific hive, I knew there had to have been something to it. When you hear something like that, it's hard to explain, but I did it. And as soon as I did that and closed the lid and looked up, there was a rainbow, and I had no idea what that meant. I thought it was more of a sign saying, dig in, you're on the right track. I had no idea what was getting ready to happen 5 days later. 5 days later, anyone who grafts queen knows 5 days later what happens when you're grafting, you've got capped cells. 5 days after I grafted, that storm came through. There was 70-mile-an-hour plus straight line winds that not only knocked hives 15 feet on the other side of the hive stand, it knocked components and things 70 to 200 feet away from all that. It took 4-way pallets off trailers and upturned them. It did so much devastating damage, and these little pinhead size patterns of wind. You can't prepare for that. That lighthouse hive was right there with all of those hives, and it stayed put. Now, tell me how that that's like the broadside of a barn. If anything should have lifted off, it should have been that one, but it stayed put. And what was on the inside of that colony, not only were there enough queens in that colony to rebuild, there were queens there to grow. And that's a big deal. When all this started to kind of unfold, and we're trying to process and dig in, it's raining, it's mudding, you're scooping up dead, soaked gobs of wet bees that are dead. Everything looks terrible. You've got zero hope for them. All you know to do is to grab boxes, put them back on stands, get a lid on them, work as fast as you can. 2 minutes later, after we put everything back together, we had another storm. Round 2 came through. It was just as bad. And if we weren't right then and there in the bee yard when it happened, we would have absolutely lost everything, because every single colony would have been drowned in that 2 inches of rain that we got in that short period of time. Golf ball size hail, 70-mile-an-hour winds. The list goes on. But the thing about it is, the storms of life are always going to hit our shores. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you lose one hive or 1,000, or someone you lose that you love, or it's a business, or it's a home. These things are going to happen. I think it's what we do in the midst of the storm that I think matters. And for us, hearing that call, being obedient, hearing what God had for us and following through with that, to me, it wasn't, hey, we lost some colonies. Hey, it was, what are the positives here? How can we be a lighthouse to other folks? And there were so many folks that reached out with thoughts and prayers and encouragement. And that in those times for us, that meant the world to us. And I think there's a lot, you've heard us say, be the lighthouse, be the change, right? It's one thing to talk the talk. It's another thing to walk the walk. And the folks that stepped up for us, it meant everything to us. And I know you guys, Jose just jumped on. I know Jose has been in a similar situation probably many times. It seems like whenever you make moves in life, whenever you have these big periods of growth, you are almost thrown right into a storm, almost as a test of your mettle. And I know Jose's had these kind of things happen, and he's had to put the pieces back and had to move forward. So it's not we're not looking for pity or sympathy, none of that. This happens to everybody, but I think it's what you do in those tough times and how you move forward that I think makes a difference, not only for you but for others.
Greg, that's incredible, and it's just I'm in awe of the message of that video. You know, it's you said if you can do it with the honeybees, then what can you do with us? The whole concept of he can break us down but bring us back stronger, and I love the whole theme of what you're doing. You know, be the lighthouse, BEE the lighthouse. It's just phenomenal. You're just incredible, and I appreciate it. I wanted to share one thing that's pretty personal here about a conversation that we had this afternoon before we move on. Jose, just if you forgive me for just a minute, but we got a text this afternoon that just shows you how much Greg thought about this and pondered over this. And I think something I've learned in life is that when you're dealing with things of spiritual nature, you know, we get on here and we have a good time, but things of spiritual nature are peaceful. They're quiet, the still small voice, right? And that's what Greg heard when he grafted those queens. Greg said, "Hey fellas, my guts are in knots about this new video. I feel good about giving the message laid on my heart, but we'll see how folks react. Can't hide this little light of mine under a bushel, not wearing it on my sleeves, but won't hide it either." And that is exactly how we all need to be. You know, if you feel it in your heart, you just need to do it. You need to share it. And I will tell you this, Greg, I'm a better person now because I watched that video and the effort you put into that. And I think that whole experience and sharing it with the beekeeping world is going to help grow this community stronger and bring people together. So Jose, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How's your day
Greg,
been?
I just saw the last video. Job well done, man. And I know you've heard it a couple hundred times now, but you're gonna push through. And it's a crummy thing that happens, definitely is. But push forward. That's it. Just push forward. This ain't your first rodeo, you know. It'll all the pieces will fall back in place for sure.
Kind of carrying along with the theme that we had before right as you were getting on, we had just watched Greg's video. We watched it live on here as well. And so it was, you know, you could maybe sense the seriousness of the feeling when you came on, but very similar way. You had an experience back in the spring with your colonies. Can you talk about that just a little bit? The adversity you faced. I know you faced a lot of adversity over the years, but with the flooding and stuff, can you talk about that just a minute and see and let us know kind of how you dealt with that and overcame that adversity and how your year turned out after going through that?
Yeah, you know, so it was last year that we did it was late in the year. I think it was August, September. We had the Dixie fire that hit us, which was a decent sized loss for us. It wiped out half the yard, but the damage of just smoke damage affected all the bees in the valley, all of them. I mean, we had smoke until November. Thick smoke. You're wearing masks. Your kids are wearing masks, not because of COVID, but it's just so thick. It has a big effect on the bees, believe it or not. It dries up the nectar. The bees aren't flying as much, so now you're supplementing. And doing that, you know, it costs money. It costs money when you're running, you know, a few hundred hives. And then we had that hit late in the year last year, and then just before pollination, we had the rain that we all prayed for here in California, and it came all at once. And so we had flash floods, and one of them was we had this yard. We didn't have many hives there. We had about 24 hives in that little yard that we were testing out, and just a flash flood. And just something told me. I told Kelly, I'm going to go check that yard. We used to live in that area. I'm familiar with that creek. It's going to swell, and it's going to crest over that levee. Sure enough, Dad, my gut told me, and I went, and I got there just a little bit too late. I mean, it could have been 30 minutes. It could have been 15 minutes. I don't know. All I know is that those bees weren't going to come back. it didn't matter what I did. I tried to shake all the water out of those frames, replacing new comb, and just giving them something easy to work with, dry. But no, when over the winter, they're already stressed. They've been in the hive for so long. They need to poop. They need to do whatever they're doing, and then you put them underwater. They lose all that brood is gone, and any old bees, winter bees, they died within a week. So even though in that video you saw a lot of bees upstairs, just under that lid, I think out of those 24 hive, I maybe was able to put one hive into pollination. The survival, maybe I had 4 that survived. But what you invest in them, sometimes you just kind of, you hate to do it, but you can't invest too much energy into them because there's no coming back in something like that. And like Greg, that's if it's the wind getting exposed to that rain and just beating down on those brood frames, that brood is toast most of the time. And all those old bees, it's unfortunate, but they're not going to make it. But our job is to do the best that we can, and that's what we do. That's what we're beekeepers, and we're supposed to keep bees alive. That's our job.
And then we saw Ian up in Canada and all the struggles he went through with the flooding and the weather, and I think in beekeeping can be almost like a microcosm of life. There are going to be challenges, struggles. You're going to lose some. You're going to have late nights out there trying to dig them out of water. You're going to have to tip some hives up off the ground when they get blown over in a storm. All kinds of things can happen. You can have in certain areas of the country bear attacks. Just so many things can happen. But you just got to keep coming back. And the bees will come back if they possibly can. They do everything possible, but you just got to keep coming back. And if I'm not mistaken, Jose, you had a really good year, didn't you? And all of a sudden done with your queens. I know you were super busy and a productive year.
Yeah, we're excited. I just came back. That's why I was really trying to crank out finishing the last catch of the year and cut it a little short. But I figured, okay, whatever I didn't catch, those are going to go straight into my bank, and I always keep a bank for myself to, if there's any emergency requeening that I need to do during the winter, I'm able to do that comfortably without having to steal from other hives. So it's just kind of one of those things that me as a queen breeder, I learned. You can sell all the queens, but you just have to keep some for yourself. The money that you're going to make, it's really not worth it to leave a hive queenless. We hold back about 200 queens for ourselves, just for anything. You just never know. Like Greg's experience is, now he has those queen cells that are available to him, and he was able to utilize them. So you always have to have that backup.
I really enjoyed that segment. I'm going to post a link to Greg's video in the description below, also to Jose's video where he showed that flooding event that occurred. We do these Stream Team beekeeping chats on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We rotate through the channels here at Bruce's Bees, on Greg's channel at Nature's Image Farm, and Brian's channel at Castle Hives. If you want to see more of these Stream Team Nuggets, you can go to the playlist here at Bruce's Bees titled Stream Team Nuggets. We also have a Facebook page called the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat, where you can go to find out about upcoming videos and events. If you'd like to see another Stream Team Nugget where Ian Stepler also talks about adversity, you can watch that video right here. Y'all take care, be safe, and we'll catch you on the next one.